Mark Lawson, president of ECS Publishing Group and home of EC Schirmer Classical Music and Opera. Now, I'm joined today by Michael Ching, our opera consultant, to talk about a few new things that we've recently added to our opera catalog. Michael is a composer, conductor, and has also been an administrator. So welcome, Michael.
Hi, Mark. Good to see you, as always.
Well, we've recently added some new operas to our catalog by Dan Shore. And for those that don't know about Dan's work, can you tell us a little bit about him and why they should take a look?
Well, Dan Shore has written a couple of really practical and performable operas, and both of them have won the National Opera Association one-act chamber opera competition. And it's just a wonderful addition to the catalog. They are The Beautiful Bridegroom and An Embarrassing Position. And The Beautiful Bridegroom is a perfect work for our era because it's got 6 women in it. There are so many opera programs out there that have not that many men in their program, and this is an opera that really plays to that perfectly. And Dan writes very practically. I was reviewing the scores before this morning a little bit, and one of the things he does is he is fairly careful to use, I want to say, fairly traditional rhythmic structures. In other words, a lot of contemporary music goes from, 5/8 to 7/8 to 9/16 to whatever, and he doesn't do that. And what he does is he takes these various kinds of styles, like The Beautiful Bridegroom seems to be quite a tribute to the classical style of Mozart. And The Embarrassing Position is kind of more, 90s, not 1890s parlor music or something like that. Because he's using and alluding to these styles, he is able to rhythmically, without the same level of difficulty that a lot of us have a tendency to resort to all too often. And so he combines that with really singable music. And so it's not a daunting challenge that a lot of contemporary works are. And in fact, the other one, Embarrassing Position, is 3 women and a man as well. So they're both written very practically. And when you listen to them, you realize, well, it makes perfect sense that they both won the NOA Chamber Opera.
Yeah, I think that An Embarrassing Position has had over 30 performances now. And well, I think it's The Beautiful Bridegroom that's had over 30, and An Embarrassing Position has had about 15. So it seems to be very well accepted by collegiate programs and something that's very attainable.
Yes. So there's nothing to be afraid of in these, and there's some good YouTube videos of productions available, and scores look nice, and the singing ranges are practical. And so they'll provide the right level of challenge for a younger group of performers.
Yeah, I think you can see both of these on Dan's website. You can get to his website through our website if you want to check it out. The other thing I think Dan's working on is a longer opera, about a 90-minute opera based upon the Freedom Rides. And it's the Freedom Riders and their whole experience with that phenomenon, actually. So I know that that's in progress. I think it's been premiered once and is waiting another performance soon, and then will be available as well. So, well, you recently did a wonderful job with Florida Grand Opera on your opera, Buoso's Ghost. I hope that was a very good experience.
It was really fun to be there because I started my career there in the 80s. And so everything had changed but the phone number. The phone number was still the same, but it was very exciting to me to be able to do Johnny Skiki on my sequel, Buoso's Ghost. And we had a great cast. We avoided COVID. We managed to pull off 5 performances in Miami and Fort Lauderdale. And it's certainly not the first large opera company to do Buoso's Ghost. Detroit Opera did it a few years ago, but it's always exciting when a big opera company does. Now, that said, there was a college that did it this year. Montclair University did it, and I'm always glad when colleges give it a try because it's frankly easier than Johnny Skiki. It's easier both for the orchestra and for the singers because Italian's hard and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Puccini is hard, but both as a conductor and as a composer, I can say that Buoso is easier.
So the other thing that we've just done is we've added a collection of yours to our vocal catalog that I wanted to talk about for just a minute. It's called Arrangements and Derangements. You might want to mention what that is. Tell me how you came up with that title and what's contained in
Well,
that collection.
these pieces are arrangements and derangements of Schubert. And they were commissioned by a group called the Arc Trio in New York, run by a colleague friend, Allison Charney. And the arrangements are very respectful versions for, high voice, cello, and piano. Very, very respectful. And the derangements are just weird and out there, and sometimes humorous. I mean, the piece that's going to be the best known from this group is based on the famous Trout song, Di Forella, and I call it Die Forella. And so it's a little bit evil and a little bit humorous, but a lot of them, the other three, are just done beautifully and traditionally. So it's a blend of, mischievousness and things that are very sincere and direct.
Well, it's extremely, extremely creative and fun. So I hope people will take a look at that. And there's some really good recordings that the Arc Trio did as well.
Yes, they just actually released a recording that include 5 of those 6 pieces on Navona.
Mm-hmm. And is that on Spotify or
it's on
streaming services?
It's on all of the streaming services. Yes, and while we have people's attention, I think it's important to mention that ECS has just a large collection of chamber operas, and I'm a big fan, for example, of Lisa DeSpain and Rachel Peters' No Ladies in the Lace book, which I think should be done everywhere. It's a piece that's SATB, but also you can add more women to it, so that if you have 8 women and 2 men, you could also do that way. The Gift of the Magi, of course, is doing very well, David Conti's piece, and still trying to get someone to bite on the Garden Party, the Pinkham piece that has been in the catalog for decades and decades, because I think the Garden of Eden subject is something that people ought to try.
Yes. The other one that Lisa and Rachel have been working on is called Staggerwing, and it is a wonderful opera. I saw it in Wichita, and then they have workshopped it and are doing a little tweaking, and then it should be available anytime soon.
Good.
Very soon, I think. So it's a delightful opera with wonderful music in it. So I think it's worth a listen as well. So. Well, any other thing that you want to add before we close out today about our opera offerings?
Well, I think that we're doing really well in bringing in new kinds of operas that are popular and practical. And I want us to be known as having those kinds of works that people can go to the website and say, oh, okay, I'm going to find something here that I can actually do, as opposed to something. Now, granted, I love the fact that Craig Baumler's and Steve Marcone's Riders of the Purple Sage is now in the catalog. And if you want to try a big old Western grand opera, we'd love for people to try that too.
Well, and I was really excited at the documentary that came out on that production as well. That was available for quite a while on, I think you can still get it on Amazon, actually.
Yeah. It's just an amazingly beautiful production.
Wonderful.
And whether you want to do it in that production or something smaller, it really should have a future as one of the, canonical American operas.
Yes.
And of course, we haven't even talked about Tom Ciapullo.
I was just going to say there's an anniversary coming up of the Paris Peace Accords that would be perfect for Glory Denied. So that's wonderful. Yes. And that keeps getting good performances.
Right. And there's a good Tom Ciapullo chamber opera. There are a couple of them. Afterlife and Josephine. There's plenty of Tom Ciapullo in all different kinds of varieties.
Yes. Well, thank you for taking a few minutes to talk about this today. And I hope that the rest of your year goes well.
Always good to see you.
All right. Take care.